I grew up in a small town surrounded by cornfields and small housing developments. Well, technically two. I was born in Springfield, and yes, people were eating the cats back then. Not really, but I figured while people were making stuff up, I'd throw my hat in the ring as well. But I lived in Springfield until I was 12, and then I moved to Enon, a village. Yeah, you can look it up, that's a fact. It's an area that was heavily developed because of the local Air Force base nearby. So we get a sprinkling of chair force brats with a dash of farm kids with a whole load of suburbanites and townies. Fun fact, the first time I ever saw someone get G-checked was by farmers, not by hipsters or gangsters. They hated when the suburban kids wanted to be hick. I remember one summer my friend was a normal kid, and then when he came back to school in the fall, he was fully into being a redneck. Camo hat, camo shirt, and camo pants, complete with a new dialect that included lots of y'all and a bit of a country drawl. The farmers were pissed. They saw it as someone encroaching on their sacred soil, so they bullied him, similar to ways I would see hipsters do when someone doesn't know who Can is. He was steadfast, though, and eventually they accepted him into their flock, and when I see him, I think about whether or not that was a genuine change. For the most part, I think it is, as all young men go through different interests when they're coming of age, and sometimes that identity sticks. For some people, it's a Rasta beanie, for some it was trip pants. But what if it wasn't genuine? What if every night he goes home, takes his boots off, and becomes a very tradcore liberal suburbs guy? He has a poster of Hillary Clinton that he has hidden behind a dresser that he prays in front of every night after dinner. To him, a great evening is a little Pinot and maybe some Rachel Maddow. Okay, I'll admit this is a very cynical view of him and the Democratic Party, but can we at least admit that it's somewhat accurate, even if it's just the Pinot and Rachel Maddow part? During Barack Obama's first presidential campaign, he had a quote in reference to working class voters in old industrial towns decimated by job losses. The quote goes, "They get bitter. They cling to guns or religion or antipathy to people who aren't like them, or have anti-immigrant sentiment or anti-trade sentiment as a way to explain their frustrations." End quote. When I first heard this as a young man, it completely explained my small town to me, albeit in a very brief and cynical way. Enon for me has always been this small town / suburban hybrid, a place that people move to as a way to get away from the problems of the city. Very much an answer to the white flight of the 50s and 60s. The last time most of these people have been around anything besides small town culture is when a funk cover band drives by on the local highway. So they stick to themselves, congregating at churches and high school football games. The farmers would fire guns on their property with makeshift targets that they had built out of lumber and metal. The suburbanites would go to a gun range to blast away in their polo shirts. They'd listen to Kenny Chesney or Tim McGraw or Garth Brooks. And now they still listen to that kind of stuff, but they've updated to Morgan Wallen, Kane Brown, and Shaboozey. We have a bar in town that is a censored touch tunes because the owner was upset about people playing hardcore music, and it turns out someone was playing Blink-182. I know it comes across calloused and cynical, but in reality, I actually do understand and respect this place. It has an authentic sense of regionalism, and the rolling farmlands set against the backdrop of a pastel-colored sunset is something that can truly be admired. The regionalism is similar to others in the United States, where pockets of differing influence still stand strong amongst the cold, corrosive corporate influence of social homogenization. I just happen to not be a fan of the region. It's not personal. I just feel very alone and bored in a place like this. I need the hustle and bustle of a city, with all of its noise and chaos, to keep me interested in the world. I need the cultures and the personalities to keep me inspired. For Enon, it's a place that I enjoy visiting every 6 months to a year, and then swiftly returning to my metropolitan abode. I can enjoy the scenery of a county nestled in the heart of the Rust Belt, and then go back to the anonymous corporate hellscape of modern cities. That's one thing the townies never understood. The nosiness of your neighbors and friends comes from being starved of connections to humans, even if they don't want to admit it. Your average city dweller has their own lives and people, existing in their own little community within the neighborhoods that exist throughout the entire metro area. They simply don't notice you, which can be a problem if you're in trouble, but for the day-to-day life of a person, you can't ask for a better existence. You get to make your own world and exist how you want in it, with a plethora of options to excite or soothe your soul.